Welcome to the True Joy Revolution. I'm your host, Katerina Kormas, confidence, clarity, and mindset coach for new and aspiring entrepreneurs. This podcast is for women ready to leave 9 to 5 behind and become the CEO of their own life and business. Each week, I'll be bringing you inspiring conversations with successful entrepreneurs who share their expert mindset and business secrets to help you cut through the overwhelm and take the steps to become the entrepreneur you were meant to be. This is where you connect to the life and business that is perfect for you and embark on the adventure that you were born to take. This is where the True Joy Revolution begins. Are you ready? Let's go. Hi, y'all. Welcome to the True Joy Revolution. I am so excited to introduce you to my friend and former coworker from our 9 to 5 days, Kathy Jameson. Kathy left her career in nonprofit fundraising, and now she is her own CEO of North Texas Cookie Jar, where she makes the most delicious cookies. Beautiful art on these sugar cookies. I love them. My family loves them. So welcome, Kathy.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the compliments too. My head is going to swell, but
that's okay. That's what we want as entrepreneurs, right? We want people to love the hard work we put into everything.
Yes.
So thanks for chatting with us. You and I both worked together at March of Dimes for years. We did the 9 to 5 nonprofit fundraising grind, which was more like 7 in the morning to...
I was going to say, I don't know about 9 to 5.
It's misleading. More like an all day, every night thing. And then you left and you now started your own business. So tell us about your journey, because you were in nonprofit fundraising for a while.
Yeah, I had done nonprofit pretty much over 20 years. A lot of that was volunteering, and then it became a profession, a career for me. But, I liked working with the mission families and, the people that I met along the way that pretty much sustained me and kind of filled my heart in a way that, needed that fulfillment. But it came to a point where it just became too corporate for me, and I was becoming a person I no longer enjoyed being. And that carried into my, my home life too. And, when that starts to happen, something needs to change. And for me, that happened, and I was forced to kind of reevaluate. And what did I want to do? I kind of hung up the cleats and said no more nonprofit, except on a volunteer basis where I'm doing what, truly fulfills me in that regard. But what am I going to do to fill that void? Because I don't like to be a stay-at-home. I can't say stay-at-home mom. My kids are grown, but I need to be doing something. So my husband had always said, you should open a cookie business. He's said that for years because I bake around the holidays. I bake when somebody needs something.
And he also wanted cookies all the time.
I don't think I can do that. It's just not a reality. So now I'm forced to make a decision, and it just made sense. It just, everything kind of fell in alignment for me. And we decided to look into it because you just can't jump in and start baking. There's a lot of research that needed to be done. So,
yeah. So it wasn't something you dreamed of. It was something that was talked about.
No, I don't know that I really dreamed of it, because I guess I didn't think that could be my reality. I do have a brother that's a pastry chef, and he went to culinary school. So he's trained.
Yep.
And he does great work. I didn't have that path. I didn't follow that path. So I thought, well, I'm too old to be going back to school. But I had been baking since probably young adult, right in my 20s. I did help my mom growing up, but that meant getting the ingredients, watching her put it all together, and then putting the ingredients away and cleaning up her mess. So I don't know.
Assistant.
That's not what I wanted to do. So Yeah, it was just something I enjoyed. I never thought that I could make some sort of a profession out of it.
That's really interesting.
Why not?
I think a lot of us, I mean, I never at first, like even nine to five and being miserable and just feeling like I had lost myself as well. Like I literally had lost myself somewhere in it. But being an entrepreneur, starting a business, I didn't think it was possible either, right? I didn't go to school for business, right? You always went to school for business if you wanted to do business. Like I didn't go to school for that. And I think a lot of people think the same thing. They have that dream on their heart and they bury it under, well, I can't do that, or I'm too old to go back to school, or I need to go back to school. I think that's an interesting thing I come across is a lot of people thinking they need this education to do something. Like, yes, if you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor, you gotta go back to school.
I hope.
But to start a business, you don't. You just have to get on Google. And I think that's a common entrepreneurial academy is Google and Pinterest.
Right, exactly.
And YouTube videos for everything, right?
YouTube, yes, that's becoming a staple.
Yeah, I'm sure you learned some techniques from Google. From YouTube.
I did.
Yeah, but then it's that idea that, well, it's like a little jump, like a little bit of a shift where you're like, well, let me at least look into it. Let me just at least try. And so when you started researching it, did you find it complicated?
I think it was more or less, where do you start?
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't have a name yet. With a name, then you have to have the branding, a logo. So it's like, where do you start? I did, in my research, I came across the Texas cottage law, which is basically the law that governs home bakers. Mm-hmm. So I read that thoroughly and made sure that I was able to comply with it, which turns out I can. And they've also made some changes, which benefits. They went into effect in September. So very, very recently that happened. So it allows me to do a little bit more with the business. But baking in the home, there's certification for food handlers that I had to take, and certain packaging and steps you have to follow. I can't do any milk products, anything that needs to be refrigerated. So cookies are safe. So that's what I can stick to, which is fine. So I read that, I can comply with all of that, and then connected with an agency to help me with creating the logo. I came up with the name. I had a few names, but they were taken.
Of course.
So yeah, so I had to settle. But I wanted a cookie jar in it. For some reason, I just, there's so much you can do, play on words and all with, a cookie jar. Like, who's got their hand in a cookie jar? And
a little bakery somewhere called the cookie jar.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So it's my name. We have it patented, so it's good to go. And then building a website. I mean, there's just so much behind the scenes stuff that I had to take care of before you can just put yourself out there. Yeah. So that's what I found in the research, and then started, baking for people that I knew, and then asking them, if they liked what they received and were happy. All I ask is referrals.
Yep.
That's
some reviews.
So I've had some pretty interesting orders come up,
Really?
quantity wise, and that would require me to spend a little more time, because I try to do my baking in the 9 to 5 window, so that while my husband's at work, I could be doing all the baking. So when he comes home, I have all that time freed up to spend with him, which is what I didn't have in that 9 to midnight or whatever schedule that I was following. And there's no commute. My commute is from the front of the house in my office, which is where I'm at now, to the living room.
Yes.
So, and that was the joke early on. It was like, he'd text me or send me a message, when you getting off? And I'd say, well, it's almost 6, because his hours are a little different than mine. He goes in much earlier. But he goes, how long is it going to take you to get home? And I said, well, I'm a little sore today, so it's going to take me 2 minutes. So we kind of joked about that, because the commute part of working in my nonprofit job was
it adds time and takes away life. For sure. Yeah.
So I had this job, and it required me to bake 500 cookies in 3 to 4 days. I think when I finally got it all settled, it was like 3 days. And I said, I want to do this, but it's going to require some longer hours. I brought in my son's girlfriend who has gone to a class with me, and she's worked in a bakery in the past, so she knows, and she could help me with some of the icing. So I had to call her and paid her to help me because I wanted to get this job done. It was for a hotel chain for a conference they were having, and all I thought was it's an opportunity, and that's 500 people that are going to be exposed. And from that, I've received several orders. Because somebody told somebody, or so sometimes you just have to.
Sometimes you have to hustle a little bit.
Yeah. It's something I'm not, used to doing, not the hustle, like begging for, well, I should say begging for money because that was nonprofit, but it's a different kind of thing when you're trying to pump yourself up. And, it's just something I'm having to learn along the way, is that it's okay to brag on what you do.
We're not taught that in school. That's one of the hard things. Even with my massage business, I realized it took me a while to put it into perspective that people are finding me on Google, or they're finding me on word of mouth, right? Mm-hmm. And people they want to see referrals. They want to know somebody else went there and had a good,
good experience.
A good experience. So me having to ask for reviews on Google or Facebook or Yelp, or to be like, oh, if even saying if you know of anybody else that needs a massage, let them know. You're right. Because we spent our whole careers talking about the companies or nonprofits we were working for, right? And being like, they're amazing. You want to work with us? You want to work with me because I'm awesome.
Yeah. Totally different.
And how do you think, because this is, I think, one of the toughest things about becoming an entrepreneur, especially after you leave 9 to 5, is it's totally different mindset. It's like a totally different world. You learn so much about yourself, what you're capable of. Yes. What was that transition like? And I know you had a little time in between before.
Yeah, I did.
Do the side hustle. But what was that learning experience like? What was that transition like?
I would say it was hard because I was having to trust in myself more, because it was all me. I had no one else that I, can lean on. This is pretty much all me. Mm-hmm. I'm doing the baking. I have to sell myself. So that part of it was a huge obstacle, just, believing in myself. And I didn't really have to do that before, because I knew I could do the fundraising. I knew I could plan events. It was just natural. Mm-hmm. So it just, it shifted in a way that now I'm just trying to get people excited about what I personally can do for them. And it's a cookie, and why get mine when you can go to a grocery store and get it? And I have to,
and taste the same.
Yeah. But it's been challenging at times. Yeah. So, but I've got my cheerleaders here, my husband, my sons. I mean, my son that lives here is always, selling me at work, and I send samples. I mean, I sent some yesterday, sent some last week, because when I bake, I always bake over. So either the customer is going to benefit because I'm going to give them extra, or if I have a whole lot and I don't want to eat them, and I don't need my husband eating them all the time, I send them. Or if I have to have a sample because I need a photograph, I send that whole tray somewhere. And
that's good, because that's how people get to know who you are, sampling, giving them a little.
But it's, I'm always waiting for that negative, I think, too. I'm always waiting, because I was so used to nonprofit. There's always somebody beating you down. There's always someone telling you no, and don't do it this way. So I'm still waiting for that to happen. I'm waiting to create an order and somebody to be disappointed. And that hasn't happened, but I'm fearful that someone's going to say, oh, okay, that's not what I asked for. Or I should say it's not what I asked for, but that's not what I envisioned. So there he is.
Oh, somebody must be outside.
Oh,
he's coming. Somebody must be outside. There's nobody outside, but he thinks there's somebody outside.
He probably hears me. Can he hear me, or is
no? My headphones are on. Oh. Okay, go lay down. I'll be done in a minute. He might have just. I sometimes think he does it to get my attention.
Oh, like a child.
Somebody's mowing lawn.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I think I can cut that out.
It's real.
It is real. It is real life. Welcome to the world of being an entrepreneur. I think that's such a natural fear for entrepreneurs. You know, in a way, yes. As if you're in that sales position and you have a quota, right? If somebody says no, it's like, oh gosh, I could be fired because I'm not going to hit my quota. It's so much in our control that yes, we want the money, we want the business. We also don't want that negative review out there, you know, mucking up everything.
Right.
But I think it's such a natural thing. And just knowing that I think the knowledge that something can go wrong. Like there is somebody's you can't make everybody happy, right? Somebody's going to be unhappy at some point, but that doesn't outweigh all of the really, really good stuff that people are talking about. But it's such a fear. I mean, even as a coach, or a massage therapist, it's such a fear that somebody's not going to like my massage. That's a hard pill to swallow, because it's, when you're an entrepreneur, it's your business. And so it's you. So you feel like it's a reflection on you, because you're your business is you. It's your life. It's, it's from your heart and soul. So yeah, it's like a personal thing, but you do have some really great reviews out there. So.
Thank goodness. But I'm learning how to ask, if you like the experience, if everything turned out well, if you wouldn't mind sharing that. So
yeah. Word of mouth is so powerful. It is.
And I look for that too. If I'm going to a new restaurant or a new hotel or what have you, I look for those. Yep. I mean, I'm really bad about just reading through all of them. Because I know that people are really quick to say something bad before they'll take the time to say something good. Very true. Very true. So if the majority of them are good. Yeah. And so far they're all good. So that's good. That's good. You brought up a good point though, because being, running your own business, with the marketing and answering emails and the invoices and collecting payment and buying supplies and everything, social media, it's all on you. So I know for me, one of the things I've struggled with is what you brought up, is that work-life balance. And it is different from a 9 to 5, because, you have the power, that if you don't work, you're not going to actually make money. You're not going to finish a project. Right. But it's hard as an entrepreneur to cut the line between the two. And so how do you do that? How do you successfully draw the line? It's funny you said that, because if I had like that order I had and I had another one that recently, it was 550 cookies. So it's, you're putting in all the hours, you're spending all the time, and either you're standing up, bending over, or you're sitting doing certain it just depends on what I'm doing. I try to stand more than sit. But it was a beautiful day outside, and I thought, oh, I haven't been in the pool in a while. I just want to go hang out by the pool, soak in some rays. But I felt guilty. I thought, if I'm out there taking a day off, I guess is what it truly would have been. I'm not making money. I'm not doing anything to build my business. And then on the flip side of that, my husband's at work busting his butt, and here I am laying by the pool. So I'm still trying to overcome that. Like, yes, I am entitled to take a break. And he's like, why didn't you do it? So I just still have that guilt. And it's still from working nonprofit. You felt guilty when you took a day off. You felt guilty being sick. Well, you're human. You're going to get sick. You're going to need that time to re-energize yourself. So I'm having to overcome more than anything just that guilt. But cutting it off between, my work stops. Like last night I was doing a project. My son and his friends went home yesterday, so I had to take them to the airport. So I knew I wasn't going to start anything. And I've got a big week this week. I've got some big orders due. So I thought, well, if I start something, then I have to stop to take them. I'll just wait till I get back. So I knew when I got back, I was a little short on my time for the day. So I extended it a little later, but I cut it off. I came to a good stopping point, and my husband's like, what all do you have left to do? I said, this is it. This, from this time on, it's just me and you. We can watch TV, catch up on shows, just hang out, whatever. But I have to be assertive that way and tell myself, you've got a stopping point. And the only thing I had to do was I needed to package some cookies that, later, because the drying time and all.
Yep.
So, he went to bed and I, got those all packaged, and I was in bed by 8:30. I never go to bed at 8:30 ever. So I'm getting more sleep now too. But anyway, just,
Lovely.
kind of just knowing that, okay, you need to stop. You have the ability to stop, because it's hard when you work from home, whether it's being an entrepreneur or if you have a remote job that you're working for, a corporation. Cutting that off, because it's so easy to sit behind a laptop and do the work. You have to tell yourself it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've been brainwashed, when you do go from 9 to 5 to be an entrepreneur, you're brainwashed into, you need to put your 8 hours in.
Hours. Yeah.
And you have to be working. And my thing is, my biggest one was, at first I felt like I had to sit at my desk for 8 hours to do work. And that was like, this is not what I built the business for. Like, I don't want to. And so then I have the hard time of, I might sit on the couch and do something while watching a show if it's like just brainless work. Right. Or I actually do my email writing, my blog writing in my backyard while watching my dog play. And but to me, then that's like, I'm working, you know what I mean? Like, I'm working and I'm, but I don't it's such a hard thing. It's like such guilt when you're like, I'm just not going to pick up my phone and do something. I'm not going to respond to that text message or that voicemail message. Like last night, a client contacted me at 5, and I don't work evenings on Monday. And she wanted a massage last night. And I remember driving in my car going, I should really respond to her. I should really respond to her. And then the other voice is like, no, you're not working right now. You're not on the schedule to work right now. You get to have a life. But from 9 to 5, you're brainwashed, especially nonprofit, when we're brainwashed to respond to your chair or your whoever at 9 o'clock at night because they contacted you.
It's your chair. But it's funny because, many years ago when we didn't have all this technology, when you left work, that phone that connected you to your job was in that office. Mm-hmm. So when you left it behind. Why can't that still be the case now?
It's so hard because it's a smartphone now. It's your computer in your hand.
Right.
But I think we're also up against the culture that's created, that people that email you or reach out to you, whatever, they want a response now, forgetting that there are boundaries. So you're up against your old brain, your old, way of thinking, plus what other people are expecting of you. And that I struggle with that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do. I really should respond. I want this client, so I want to respond to them. But at the same time, you're like, but I'm on vacation with my family and I don't want to respond while I'm on vacation with my family, or I'm at the movies, or I'm out to dinner, or I'm just sitting in my backyard reading a book.
So you still feel that, because you became an entrepreneur long before me. Mm-hmm. So you're still struggling with that too?
Oh, I struggle with it every day, every day. But it's gotten easier. It's definitely gotten better but it's definitely a mental thing. You literally have to say it to yourself. It's okay that I'm sitting outside just doing nothing. It's okay if I want to get into bed and watch TV and read a magazine. I do not have to be checking social media. It's okay. I could really have to say it to myself that it's okay. And with 2 businesses, you double that. You double I need to be all things at all times, because I don't like to work a 9 to 5 day. So it's really deciding if I have clients, like this evening I have clients, I don't have to work up until I have clients, that it's okay, but it's a constant, it's really a rewiring your whole brain to understand what work is and what life is and what the balance is. Because as you said before, you could leave work and just
leave it
and go home and say, well, even though I have a smartphone now, I'm not going to read my emails or I'm not going to respond to anybody. But when they're meshed together, you really have to rewire your brain. And but that guilt, I think that's a big struggle that a lot of us
definitely
overcome. Need to overcome. We don't overcome it easily. That's for sure.
Certainly not.
Well, and with you, you have orders, right? They're most likely they're buying cookies from you for an event that they're
Right.
having. So there's a whole, you have a hard deadline for those.
Right. And I've learned to, I'm super organized, so that's by nature. So I've been able to put that into practice and plan out my week. I've learned what my limits are, how much I can take on in a week. So that was part of that learning curve. You can't say yes to everybody, though I want to. And I always try to fit everybody in, but I'm not going to go back to that burning the midnight oil because I need to get an order done, because then I'm not giving the best of myself to them either if I'm tired, worn out. So I've learned to understand what I can handle. And it's not always about the number, it's about the project itself. If it's something that's, super easy to do, then I know I can take on more. If it's something that's going to be more detailed, more complicated, then I know I want to make sure that I limit myself that week.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's creating those clear boundaries, not only with yourself, but also with your clients or potential clients. That's another hard lesson to learn as an entrepreneur, is that it's not just about, you have to have a boundary. And, sometimes it's not taking on a client because they're going to be difficult, or no, really, I'm only taking on this many this week. And that's hard because as an entrepreneur, as you said, like you want to be successful and you want people to talk about you. And the best way to do that is to take on more clients. And then you take on more clients and then they can talk about you, but then you cut into your own boundaries.
Right.
There's a fine line of, setting boundaries and saying, I'm not working on Mondays, and not taking on a client because you're like, oh, I should, because
it's funny because before I started doing this, there was a local cook here, which we call ourselves, who I was trying to order from. And I had tried to order from her a couple times. She does amazing work. And she never had availability. And I was like, well, I'm not going to ask her anymore. Yeah. So in my mind, I have that too. Like there was, I was on that, other side trying to get orders placed. And she told me no. So I stopped asking. So I don't want to be that person too. But if I truly can't do the job.
Yes. And you don't want to do a poor job.
Yeah. So now I understand why she can only take on so much. Plus she has small children. So her window is much smaller than mine.
But I think that also brings up a good point on scaling your business, because it sounds like if she's constantly turning people away, sounds like she's at that bridge of needing to scale it and hire. And maybe she doesn't want to do that, but that's something we learn as entrepreneurs on when you need to start to hire in order to grow and be able to take on more clients.
And how big do you want to become? You have to decide that too. My content being in this place where I have all the control and can determine that future, or do I want it to expand to the point where now I have to find a space and now I need to bring on more people who can do the same quality of work, and that just there's going to be a lot of thought if we get to that point, a lot of thought going into that decision.
Oh, especially when you're talking about something like baking, like that's a whole, you don't want to lose the quality by making bigger batches and having other people decorating, and you don't want to mess up that recipe. That's so good.
Thank you.
The yummy recipe. So what would you tell people that are, they want to start a business, whatever business that is, whether it's a brick and mortar, whether it's a baking business, whether it's, a service-based business, what would be, well, first let's start with, what would you tell them if they wanted to quit their job to start?
I would say, always do your research before you make that big jump, not knowing what that personal situation is. You always want to protect yourself as far as financially. So always do your research before you make that decision, unless, that decision's made for you. But you know what you're getting into, and be 100% sure that that's the decision you want to make. And of course, if it's been a dream and aspiration, in your heart that you want to make that decision. So chances are it's a go. But, for me, when I was looking into becoming the entrepreneur, there were some things I didn't know. So I'm glad I researched. I didn't know about the Texas cottage law. And I didn't know what those restrictions were. And I was okay with that. But it helped me to understand what my limits would be should I move forward. So, and then, what is it going to cost you to start up? Mm-hmm. And are you set up? Are you in a good place where you can put out those expenses? Because up front, you're going to pay more. Yes. But then you know that. And I learned that because, what supplies do you need? And you've got to be fully prepared to move forward. And what is that going, financially, what's that going to cost you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big one.
You don't want to go in with more stress, thinking, this will be, easy, and then find out, do you need insurance? Do you, mm-hmm. You need extra hands? Is it just going to be you?
And everything seems to add up. Like, just getting your domain name, that's going to cost you
exactly
$20-$30, just then having a website. You could do it for free, but you're probably going to need to pay for hosting or, there's everything just kind of adds up a little bit.
Yeah.
Getting your DBA costs money. Getting your LLC costs money.
Yeah. So just knowing all of that.
Yeah. What else? What else would you tell them?
Follow your heart. Just, be strong. And if you have a good support system behind you, which I do, they're going to be there to back you up, and don't give up on yourself, because it's not going to be that perfect road. You're going to have failures. You're going to doubt yourself. It's inevitable, but to keep with that, stick with it, because if it's something that you've wanted, you can make that a reality. Just, knowing not to give up.
Yeah. Especially when there's going to be hiccups. You're going to fail.
And you work those out. Some are small, but you make them larger than they need to be.
That's the problem. We escalate our mind.
And you find out, that was just a little pebble in the road. So and you can overcome just about anything. So just to have faith in yourself and your abilities.
I always think of, when I think of failures and I think of setbacks, I think of Martha Stewart. Mm-hmm. How she went to jail.
Yeah.
She went to prison, and she's still back. She came back from prison and still built her empire. So, so many people have these hiccups that we're thinking, oh my gosh, this is it. And then they come right back.
Right now, you bounce right back. Yeah. Yeah. Don't be too quick. Don't be quick to give up.
No. That's a good one, because I admit all the time, like, I've launched things. I've launched programs that nobody bought. My first website is a joke when I look at it. People are like, it's not bad. I'm like, all right, okay, thank you for that kindness. My first videos online, like my first posts on Instagram. There no comments, no likes, no nothing. It just happens, right? Like,
it does. Yeah.
And then you just keep going. It's more about the consistency than perfection.
Mm-hmm. And set goals, like set realistic goals, whether they're monthly or, more long-term. How much time am I going to give this to succeed, before I, realize I need to tweak something or take a different path. But just, if it's revenue goals, there's that word, revenue goals, so you can't get rid of it. But, knowing if I want to grow, what does that growth pattern look like for me, to feel like, okay, this is working, because I know it's going to be slow. And I know some months are going to be, in what I do, some months are going to be heavier than others. So just being very realistic of those expectations. That's
the word, realistic. I know when I started out, I had all these lofty goals and I never hit them. So it set me up to feel defeated and to feel like I failed. But I actually needed to kind of I really need to set smaller goals till I actually saw what the response was to what I was putting out there. And then you raise them. But you have to be realistic on, learning as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is one of the biggest learning curves and being a mom, two biggest learning curves you'll ever have in your life. And I'm not a mom, I'm a dog mom, and that's its own thing. But I give credit to moms, because that is just life-changing. But entrepreneurs, your mind changes, everything shifts from outside of you to it's all about you. It's
Mhm.
literally like, when you go to a job, it's about the company. It's about your coworkers. It's about clients or whatever. But when you are an entrepreneur, it is all about you.
Mhm. Oh, it is. Yeah.
It's all you. But setting realistic goals. I think that's why a lot of people fail, because they see it as failure because they
Mhm.
didn't hit the big goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know enough about that to not make that mistake.
Again, you learned from your experience.
Can we raise $2 million? Not going to happen.
Yeah. Can you please raise $1.6 million for us? No, can't.
Can't do that.
Where am I getting that? The days. What was your biggest mindset shift as an entrepreneur?
That I was in complete control of my destiny. Someone else wasn't. You know, if I want to become something bigger and better, it's up to me and it's on me. I'm the only person standing in my way. Whereas the old 9 to 5, it wasn't just me, though my performance could be good, but there was always someone else determining that for you. And all their scales are different. And if there is a future, someone else is planning that out for you. Those, spots need to become available. For me, it's endless. It's what I want to happen to my future. It's in my control.
It's about your vision for your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that one. Wow. That's a big mindset shift. Because, I say to people all the time, like, people are like, oh, they climb the corporate ladder. And I'm like, but you can only make so much money and you can only be a certain person, when you're judging your world by your career and your family, right? You can only be to this level based off of what the company allows you to be.
Right.
But when you're an entrepreneur, sky's the limit.
Sure.
I see my coach, she and her husband, they flip houses, they invest in different businesses, they have real estate, they, rental properties, they maximize themselves as an entrepreneur by branching out, and they grow their businesses, in certain ways. And that's what you could do as an entrepreneur. You can say, okay, I want this to be the next Betty Crocker or whatever. Entenmann's, I don't know. You could say, right? You can dream that big as an entrepreneur. Or you can say, I just want to keep it the way it is right now. I'm so happy.
And that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, that's a hard lesson, in our world where people are talking about the billionaires. Like, I get caught, even as an entrepreneur, when you start to get into that entrepreneurial world and people are talking about the big success stories, even when you watch Shark Tank, and all these businesses grow to millions of dollars, right? And you think, and I struggled with this up until this year, up until about 4 or 5 months ago, where I no longer knew my definition of success. I just was looking at everybody else and their goals were $1 million goals. And I was like, well, of course my businesses need to be making $1 million, obviously. And so it took away my control of what my destiny looked like and what I thought success was. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, I literally did the number crunching, and I tell people to do this exercise all the time. What do you really need to feel abundant? Do you really need them? And I sat there and I go, yeah, of course I'd find something to do with $1 million. Most of it would probably sit in a bank. Like, even if I wanted to take 10 vacations, I was crunching numbers going, what would I do with $1 million? Like, it would be nice, but it's not when I really crunch to the life I want and the things I want in my life and the experiences I wanted. It was a fraction of that number of what made me feel successful. And what it turns to is, when you're in business, it's not just about the money. It's about the experiences. It's about how you're feeling, what it makes you feel. Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like you're making an impact? Do you feel like you're bringing happiness to other people? And it's so freeing that I can say, I don't want the $1 million. I just want to control how I want my life to live.
Yeah, exactly. And I like just the baking part of it makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I get into my own little world of music playing, or it's quiet, just depends on the day. And it's like a happy place.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not thought about the monetary side of it. Like, I need to be, making this much or I'm failing. It's just the fact that people are ordering is sustaining me right now. It's, just bringing in that business right now. It's very fulfilling.
Yeah. And that's actually I find the key to success is that you're serving and you're doing it from a passionate place and you're loving what you're doing, and people are contagious. Cause like you put your posts out, you could tell like how much heart goes into your cookies. Like there's so much, like they're beautiful, they taste good, they're packaged beautifully, right? So you can see that this is heart and soul. Like you can tell like every single cookie you design it's not like, oh, I got to do another one. You could tell they're all precise. And people, that's how you're successful. When you take money out of the equation, it tracks that energy where people are like, oh, I feel the passion, as opposed to if you were revenue led, right? If you were like, I need the next sale, I need the next sale, I need the next sale. People are going to know it's about the sale.
Right. That's true. I know someone had mentioned to me when I told them I was doing this large project, it was the same cookie. It was the same design,
500.
Different colors. Yeah. They were roses. And this person had said to me, oh, how boring, because I'm doing the same thing over and over and over. And I was like, I'm not looking at it that way. I mean, yes, it's the same design, so it's easier to knock out. But to me, I was looking at, this is a huge opportunity for me for exposure. And I need to make sure that they all look good, because should that one person get an ugly cookie, they're going to go, what? Yeah. So it is a lot about enjoyment. And the other thing that I'm really proud of that I do is I do give back a percentage of my sales to a nonprofit every month. So at first they were ones that I was close to, people that I had connected with along the way. And, as I continue to grow, I look to my clients for things that are important to them, like my repeats. So like this past month was the Dallas-Fort Worth Humane Society, because someone that's become a dear friend of mine is also a really good client too. She's very passionate about that organization. And I had asked her, so she gave me the local one. She's also about recycling and all of that too. And I want to be able to connect with my clients that way too, that it's all of our community, not just, me and what I believe in. So that makes me proud. So, sometimes last 2 months have been a nice chunk that I've been able to give back to, for being a home business, pretty good chunk of change to go back. So
that's just another way you're putting heart into your business. Yeah. And that actually, that attracts clients too, because it doesn't just seem like a revenue building business. It really is about the community and the heart. And people love that. Like I love that, because it means so much that I'm not only buying cookies for an occasion, but part of it's going to help somebody else too.
Right. And it keeps me connected to that part of me, that I was afraid I was going to lose when I left nonprofit. So that was the way that I could bridge the two.
That's a great example of you putting all the pieces of you into your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can do that. Like, it doesn't have to just be a business. It is you, like your business, in the entrepreneurial world, we talk about your personal brand. Well, your brand as a company is just you. It's not like the old school Pepsi, Apple, branding. It's no, you are the face of your company. You are the heart, because most of our businesses are started from our heart and soul. So that's what comes out in our businesses. That's really, it comes from a why. It comes from a reason for wanting to start it. It comes from, even if you didn't have a why up front, you eventually are like, oh, I do have a why. I do have a passion for this. I love my clients. I love my customers. I love the cookies. I love the design. That comes out, and that's a whole piece of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Any last words or thoughts before we close out?
I wish I would have done this a long time ago. With my husband. He is a wise man.
The number one thing all entrepreneurs say when they kick their, throw the tantrums of being in a 9-to-5, and then they start a business, like, why did I leave? I know so much of what I'm capable of now.
Yeah. And just the happiness and the balance it's brought back to my life.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't trade that in.
No.
The dollars that I lost, you know, it's.
No, because life's a journey, not a destination. And
Exactly.
It's really about enjoying every single moment. And that's what you have to do. You basically have to design your life the way you want it to live life your own way. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Happy about that.
Yay. Well, congratulations on such a great business. Thank you. So where can everybody find you and follow you?
So we have, I always say it is a family business. So we have we have Facebook. So it's North Texas Cookie Jar. .com is the website, and Instagram, North Texas Cookie Jar.
Okay.
You can find us.
Awesome.
All those places. So
and if you know of anybody that lives in the Dallas, do you do Fort Worth too?
Yes, I do Fort Worth, Dallas. As long as we can deliver, meet up, they usually come to the house, or I've delivered depending, I like to get out still. And then if you know anybody in the area, but you're not, then you can have them order locally for you.
Oh,
we can't ship, unfortunately.
So that they can ship them to you.
Yeah. So they can place the order, we can place the order and they can go ahead and ship it to you.
Okay.
So you're not missing out.
No, and they're so yummy. And the designs are beautiful. Like they are they just look like art.
You got to credit Pinterest and all of those people that are out there sharing for the sole purpose. Yeah. And and it's a very supportive network that I'm in, that's people nice. are very willing to support each other, to share their ideas, and I share mine. So there's plenty of opportunity for all of us to live in this world. So
yes, there's enough to go around for more everybody. Yeah. And as you said, some people wouldn't be able to take clients on because they're too busy. So there's another option out there.
Yeah. So we've got referral networks set up, and if I can't do it, then I've got a handful of people that I would in a heartbeat send people to, because I've tried their work. I've seen it. Yeah.
Tasted it. Did the taste test already.
Stamp of approval for sure. Yeah. And everybody has their own little niches that they fall into. Some get really, really creative with designs and flowers and all that on a cookie. And then others are more simple, more basic. So there's something for everyone, and people out there that can do it.
Yep. Everybody has their own special gifts, and people are going to be attracted to somebody's special gift.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and chatting with us. Yeah. So y'all go follow Kathy, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Hi, Joyful Lady. Thank you so much for listening to the True Joy Revolution podcast. I want to invite you to join the Joyful Business Society Facebook group. This is where you'll receive coaching, support, guidance, and friendships, all the things you need to live your best life and become the CEO of your life and business. You'll receive VIP access to trainings and new resources, and even discounts on courses and coaching. So pop over to Facebook and search for the Joyful Business Society and join today. I look forward to seeing you in there. And if you liked what you heard today, help us spread the message by leaving a review for other women to see and be encouraged to subscribe. Your reviews go a long way with helping this podcast be seen by those that are ready to live life their own way. So thank you so much for helping us spread the love and helping other women embark on their own True Joy revolutions. So thank you so much for being a part of the True Joy Revolution community. I really appreciate it, and I'll see y'all next time.